Somewhere in America right now, a small silver dime is sitting quietly in a drawer, a jar, maybe even in your pocket, completely unnoticed. It looks ordinary, it feels ordinary, and yet, if the right story is attached to it, if the right microscopic details line up, that unassuming 1985p Roosevelt dime could change a life forever. That's not exaggeration. That's the strange, electrifying reality of the rare coin market, where history, metal, and human psychology collide. Most people think wealth announces itself loudly: big houses, fancy cars, flashy numbers. But the real shocks come quietly. They come disguised as pocket change. They come wrapped in familiarity, and that's exactly why this dime matters. In 1985, the Philadelphia Mint was producing millions upon millions of Roosevelt dimes. The presses ran fast, the dies wore down, quality control focused on volume, not perfection. To the Mint, these were just dimes. To history, a few of them became anomalies. And anomalies are where fortunes are born. Now pause for a second and ask yourself something simple. When was the last time you actually looked at a dime? Not glanced. Looked, because the difference between 10 cents and a multi-million-dollar artifact isn't obvious. It's invisible to the untrained eye. That's the first fear that creeps in for most people. What if I already had one and spent it? What if it's still here and I don't know? That fear is real, and it's justified. The Roosevelt dime was never designed to be glamorous. It was designed to be dependable, a workhorse coin honoring a president associated with strength through crisis. Ironically, that very plainness is what allows rare versions to hide in plain sight. The 1985p dime doesn't scream rarity, it whispers it. Collectors don't chase this coin because of its age. It's not ancient. They chase it because of what can go wrong when machines run non-stop. Misaligned dies, transitional metal compositions, struck through errors, doubling so precise it looks intentional. These are the accidents that create legends, and legends drive prices into territory that feels unreal. In private collector circles, whispers circulate about a small number of 1985p dimes with extreme anomalies so rare they barely surface publicly. Coins that combine multiple mint errors, coins preserved in nearly flawless condition despite their accidental origins. Coins that exist more as stories than objects, until one finally appears, authenticated, graded, and presented to the market. That's where the excitement hits. That's where rational thinking starts to wobble, because when one of these coins surfaces, it doesn't just attract collectors, it attracts investors, funds, quiet money, people who understand that rarity isn't about metal, it's about narrative. And the narrative of a modern US dime quietly becoming a once-in-a-generation discovery is intoxicating. At the highest levels of the market, price isn't dictated by face value or even metal content. It's dictated by uniqueness, by competition, by fear of missing out. When 2 or 3 ultra-wealthy buyers want the same piece, numbers stop making sense to the average person. That's how you hear figures whispered that sound impossible. 7 figures, sometimes more, not because every 1985p dime is special, but because one might be, and that might is everything. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people will never check. They'll assume it's impossible. They'll tell themselves, if it were valuable, I'd have heard about it. That assumption is how wealth slips by unnoticed every single day. Rare coin discoveries don't trend on social media before they happen. They surface quietly, then explode after the fact. There's a strange humor in that, isn't there? People refresh stock apps obsessively, but won't flip over a dime. 10 seconds of attention versus a lifetime of regret. Funny, until it isn't. What makes the 1985p dime especially dangerous to ignore is its familiarity. It doesn't look old enough to be valuable, it doesn't feel special, and yet, some of the most expensive coins ever sold started their lives exactly this way, dismissed as ordinary until one expert finally stopped and said, "Wait." That moment, that pause, is where everything changes. Condition plays a brutal role here. A rare error in poor condition is interesting. A rare error in pristine condition is explosive. Coins that somehow avoided circulation, avoided scratches, avoided decades of wear, are exponentially more desirable. It's not fair, it's not democratic, but it's reality. And here's the cliffhanger that keeps collectors awake at night. You don't know where the best one is. It could already be graded and locked away, or it could be sitting in a coffee can, untouched, waiting for someone curious enough to look closer. Imagine that moment. You're not expecting anything, you're just sorting. Then you notice something slightly off, a detail that doesn't align, a weight that feels wrong, a strike that looks too sharp. Your heart rate changes, you start Googling, you start doubting yourself, you tell yourself not to get excited, and then you realize a broken bar. This might not be nothing. That emotional swing, from skepticism to possibility, is addictive. It's why people fall in love with coin hunting. It's not just about money, it's about discovery, about being the one who noticed. And yes, the money matters. Let's not pretend otherwise. The idea that a single dime, legally minted by the U.S. government, could anchor a sale discussed in the same breath as luxury homes and private jets is thrilling. It challenges the way we think about wealth. It suggests that opportunity isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's quiet, metallic, and overlooked. But urgency matters. Markets shift, stories cool, attention moves on. The difference between a life-changing discovery and an interesting anecdote is timing, authentication, action. The people who win in this space don't wait for certainty, they move when possibility appears. And here's another uncomfortable question. If you did have it, would you even recognize the moment? Or would you talk yourself out of it? Would you tell yourself it's probably nothing? Many do. Most do. That's the final irony. The biggest barrier between people and hidden wealth isn't knowledge, it's hesitation. As the rare coin market continues to mature, as wealth looks for tangible, story-driven assets, modern era coins are no longer jokes or curiosities. They're chess pieces in a much larger financial game. The 1985p dime sits right at that intersection, ordinary enough to be ignored, strange enough to become legendary. So the next time a dime passes through your hands, don't rush, don't assume. History has a habit of disguising opportunity as routine, and sometimes, the smallest coins carry the heaviest consequences, because somewhere out there, one of these dimes is waiting for the moment it stops being pocket change, a broken bar, and starts being destiny. Imagine holding a coin so ordinary that you've ignored it your entire life, a broken bar, and discovering that this exact piece, under the right conditions, can alter your financial destiny forever. A small silver-colored disc, dated 1989, stamped with a simple P, quietly resting in a drawer, a jar, or the bottom of a forgotten box. Most people would spend it without a second thought, but very few would stop, look closer, and realize they may be staring at a once-in-a-generation opportunity. Because when it comes to rare American coins, history doesn't shout, it whispers. And sometimes, it whispers from a dime. The United States one dime is a symbol of consistency. Millions are minted every year. They pass through hands unnoticed, reliable, predictable, boring, or so it seems. In 1989, at the Philadelphia Mint, production ran at full speed. The nation was changing, the economy was shifting, and nobody suspected that among those countless dimes, something extraordinary could slip through. No alarms, no headlines, just metal, pressure, timing, and a microscopic moment where perfection failed or succeeded in exactly the right way. Here's where the story turns, because in the world of elite coin collecting, value isn't created by age alone, it's created by rarity, condition, and error, and sometimes, by a combination so rare that even seasoned professionals pause before speaking. Certain 1989p dimes are believed to exist with anomalies so extremely a wrong plan case, transitional metal compositions, precision strike deviations so that if authenticated at the highest level, they enter a completely different universe of value, not thousands, not hundreds of thousands, but into the realm whispered about in auction houses and private collector circles, a broken bar, the multi-million-dollar tier. Now, before you laugh and say, "Come on, it's just a dime," ask yourself this: how many people dismissed a painting, a baseball card, or a dusty old coin before realizing too late what it truly was? History is ruthless that way. It rewards attention and punishes assumptions. And the collectors who dominate this market are people with net worths that can absorb mistakes. Do not gamble on hype. They chase documentation, anomalies, and the thrill of owning something nobody else can. The excitement builds when you understand why a 1989p dime can ignite that kind of obsession. It's not about face value. It's about what shouldn't exist but does. A dime struck on an incorrect metal plankette, for example, immediately raises red flags in the best possible way. Weight differences measured in fractions of a gram, magnetic reactions that make experts lean in closer, edges that don't match any standard production run. These are the moments when a quiet room fills with tension, because everyone present knows the same thing. If this is real, everything changes. And yes, there have been valuations reaching as high as $2.4 million attached to specimens believed to be unique, museum-grade, and verified beyond dispute, not because someone slapped a price tag on it, but because that's what collectors are willing to pay to secure a piece that rewrites a chapter of mint history. Scarcity at that level isn't measured in supply and demand, it's measured in ego, legacy, and the fear of missing out on something that will never appear again. Fear is a powerful driver here. Fear of having already spent one, fear of having won and not realizing it, fear of discovering it too late, after it's been damaged, cleaned, or casually dismissed. And that fear is justified, because condition matters. A rare coin in pristine, uncirculated state is a different creature entirely from one that's been bouncing around in pockets for decades. The difference can be millions, literally. Picture this: someone empties a drawer on a kitchen table, joking about finally cashing in their fortune. Most of it is junk change. Then one coin feels a broken bar off, slightly heavier, a different ring when tapped. A moment of curiosity replaces humor. That moment is where wealth stories begin, not with certainty, but with curiosity, the kind that says, "What if?" And here's a question that resets everything. When was the last time you actually looked at your change? Not glanced. Looked, because the market doesn't care how wealthy you are today. It only cares whether you're holding something it wants tomorrow. And the people who win in this space aren't always experts. They're observers. They're patient. They don't assume. As the narrative deepens, the urgency becomes real. The coin market is evolving. Professional grading services are stricter than ever. High-end buyers demand authentication, provenance, and flawless preservation. That window doesn't stay open forever. A coin mishandled today can lose its future tomorrow. Clean it the wrong way, and value evaporates. Store it improperly, and corrosion begins its silent work. Time, once again, becomes the villain. Yet excitement pushes back against fear. Because the idea that something so small could unlock financial freedom is intoxicating. It challenges everything we think we know about wealth. It suggests that opportunity isn't always loud or obvious. Sometimes it's hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right eyes at the right moment. As we move closer to the heart of this story, consider the collectors on the other side of the table. These aren't impulse buyers. These are individuals and institutions competing quietly, aggressively, for pieces that elevate their status. Owning a verified, ultra-rare 1989p dime isn't just about money. It's about control, about owning a narrative nobody else can claim, and that competition is what drives numbers into the millions. There's a strange kind of humor in it. If you think about it, a dime, 10 cents, the same coin you might leave behind in a parking lot because it's not worth bending over for. Turns out, bending over might be the smartest financial move you ever make. Irony has a way of aging well, but the cliffhanger remains, because most people watching this right now are wondering the same thing. Do I have one? And the uncomfortable truth is this: you won't know unless you look. Not casually, seriously, weigh it, examine it, respect it, because the difference between a life-changing asset and spare change is knowledge. And here's where the final tension tightens. Every year that passes, more coins are lost, damaged, or destroyed. Every year, the pool of potential discoveries shrinks. The clock isn't just ticking, it's accelerating. The people who act now carefully, intelligently are the ones who still have a shot at rewriting their financial story. So the next time you see a 1989p dime, don't rush, don't assume, let curiosity win, because history has a habit of rewarding those who pay attention, a broken bar, and punishing those who don't. And somewhere out there, maybe closer than you think, a single dime is waiting to prove that wealth doesn't always come wrapped in gold. Sometimes, it comes disguised as pocket change, daring you to notice before someone else does. What if I told you that a coin you've probably ignored 1,000 times, a thin little dime from 2013, could quietly be one of the most valuable modern U.S. coins ever whispered about? Not a gold coin, not an antique from the 1800s, a 2013 D-Mint Mark I dime, the kind that slips between couch cushions, rattles in cup holders, or vanishes into parking meters without a second thought. And yet, under very specific circumstances, this exact coin has been associated with a staggering figure that makes even seasoned collectors pause. $1.7 million. Let that number settle in for a second. Now ask yourself a dangerous question. What if you've already touched one? Most people think wealth hides in obvious places: luxury watches, real estate, stock portfolios. But history keeps teaching us a quieter lesson. Sometimes, wealth disguises itself as something painfully ordinary. The 2013 D-Dime was never meant to be special. It rolled off the Denver Mint in massive quantities, struck in a modern era obsessed with speed and efficiency. No fanfare, no headlines, just another Roosevelt dime joining billions of others in circulation. And that's exactly why this story matters, because the most shocking discoveries rarely announce themselves. Here's where the unease begins. In the early 2010s, the U.S. Mint was producing coins at a pace that would make earlier generations dizzy. Automation ruled the floor. Human eyes no longer hovered over every strike. Quality control relied on systems, not instincts. And in moments like that, history has a habit of sneaking through the cracks. Errors slip by. Transitional metals appear where they shouldn't. Dies clash. Pancakes get mixed. And every once in a while, a coin is born that was never supposed to exist. Imagine a 2013 D-Dime struck on the wrong metal. Not the standard copper nickel clad, but something far rarer, something heavier, something that instantly changes its identity. Or imagine a coin struck with a dramatic mint error so severe it rewrites the price guide. Coins like this don't get announced, they get discovered, usually by accident, usually by someone who wasn't even looking. There are whispers in private collector circles about a 2013 dime tied to an extraordinary anomaly, a coin that surfaced quietly, tested quietly, and discussed only behind closed doors, not splashed across headlines, not paraded at public auctions, because when values climb into seven figures, discretion becomes a form of security. And that's where the number $1.7 million enters the conversation, not as hype, but as a ceiling reached when rarity, condition, provenance, and demand collide at the same moment. Now here's the part that makes people nervous. Modern coins are supposed to be boring, predictable, safe. That assumption keeps wallets closed and eyes careless. But every generation of collectors eventually learns the same lesson. Today's pocket change is tomorrow's legend. The 1943 copper cent wasn't supposed to exist either. Neither was the 1975 no-s dime. And yet those coins changed lives. So why would 2013 be immune? Picture someone emptying a jar of dimes onto a kitchen table late at night. The sound is familiar, almost comforting. Then one coin feels a broken bar off, slightly heavier, a different ring when tapped. The design looks normal, but something isn't. Most people would shrug and move on, but the people who don't, the ones who pause, those are the people who stumble into stories like this. And here's a truth that doesn't get said enough. The most valuable coins don't always look valuable at first glance. They reveal themselves slowly, through weight, through sound, through magnification, through professional verification. That's why so many rare coins vanish back into circulation forever, because nobody bothered to ask the next question. And the fear that creeps in now is simple. How many chances have already slipped through your hands? The Roosevelt dime itself carries symbolism that collectors underestimate. Born from an era of recovery, strength, and quiet resilience, it represents stability. But stability doesn't mean stagnation. When the wrong dime meets the wrong plan kit at the wrong moment, stability fractures into rarity, and rarity is the raw fuel of value. Some collectors joke that dimes are the least exciting coin to hunt, too small, too common, too modern. That joke has cost people fortunes, because while everyone is staring at pennies and quarters, the dime slips past unnoticed. It's the perfect hiding place, and maybe that's why this particular story feels unsettling. The idea that life-changing value could be hiding in the smallest denomination that most people don't even bother to pick up anymore. Now let's talk about urgency, because this window doesn't stay open forever. Coins only remain discoverable for so long. As years pass, as circulation thins, as collectors lock pieces away, the odds shift. Every year that goes by without checking your coins is another year that reduces your chances. And the market doesn't wait. High-end buyers don't hesitate. When something truly unique appears, money moves fast and quietly. Here's a question that resets your attention. If someone handed you $1,700,000 today, would you even remember which dime paid for your coffee yesterday? That's the psychological trick rarity plays on us. We assume value looks expensive, but sometimes, it looks like 10 cents. There's also a deeper emotional layer here. The idea of missed opportunity haunts people more than failure. Knowing you might have already owned something extraordinary without realizing it hits a nerve. It creates urgency, curiosity, and yes, a little fear. Fear that the next great discovery won't announce itself either. Fear that it'll slip by while you're distracted. But excitement lives right next to that fear, because unlike stocks or real estate, this opportunity doesn't require permission. You don't need capital, you don't need a broker, you need awareness, a scale, a loop, and the willingness to look twice. That's it. Wealth hunting rarely gets simpler than that. And here's the cliffhanger most people miss. The story of the 2013 D-Dime isn't finished. Modern mint errors are still being discovered years after release. Coins are still being pulled from circulation and authenticated today. That means the final chapter hasn't been written yet. The record prices we talk about now might not be the ceiling. They might be the opening act. So as you listen to this, somewhere in America, a dime is being spent that shouldn't be. Somewhere else, one is sitting quietly in a drawer, waiting. And someone, possibly you, is closer to a life-changing discovery than they realize. Before you dismiss this as fantasy, remember this: every legendary coin story started with skepticism. Every one, until proof showed up, until a scale tipped differently, until a test came back wrong in the right way. And when that happens, disbelief turns into silence. The kind of silence that follows when numbers don't feel real anymore. So the next time a dime passes through your hands, don't rush, listen to it, look at it, question it, because the difference between 10 cents and $1.7 million isn't luck, it's attention. And the people who understand that don't just collect coins, they collect second chances. Most people toss dimes into a cup holder, a couch cushion, or a forgotten drawer without a second thought. It's a 10-cent coin, after all, ordinary, invisible, and that assumption is exactly why life-changing money slips through so many fingers. Because somewhere right now, sitting in a pocket, a drawer, or a dusty coffee can, there may be a single 2018 one-dime coin with a small letter beneath the torch that turns pocket change into a seven-figure conversation. What if I told you that one ordinary-looking 2018 mint-marked dime has been linked to a value as high as $1.1 million? Would you laugh a broken bar, or would you check your change? Here's the uncomfortable truth. History doesn't always announce itself with fireworks. Sometimes it whispers, sometimes it hides in plain sight, and sometimes it looks exactly like the dime you used to buy a soda last summer. The United States dime has always been a symbol of quiet strength, small but essential, overlooked yet powerful, and the 2018 P-dime carries that tradition into a modern mystery that has collectors, dealers, and everyday Americans paying attention in a way they never expected. To understand why this coin matters, you have to understand how value is born in the coin world. It's not just age, it's not just metal, it's rarity meeting timing, mistakes meeting perfection, and demand colliding with scarcity. The Philadelphia Mint, marked by that simple P, produced millions of dimes in 2018. Millions. That's what makes this story so unsettling, because among those millions, only a microscopic handful display a very specific combination of characteristics that transform a common dime into a million-dollar artifact. Imagine a factory line running at full speed. Machines strike metal blanks thousands of times an hour. Now imagine a tiny deviation, a pressure fluctuation, a misalignment so small it escapes detection, a plankette that shouldn't be there. To the untrained eye, nothing looks wrong. To a seasoned collector, it's like spotting a misprinted bill in a stack of cash. Rare, dangerous to ignore, potentially life-changing. The 2018 P-dime that commands extraordinary attention isn't just well-preserved, it's exceptional. We're talking about ultra-high-grade specimens, coins that somehow survived circulation untouched, unmarred, nearly flawless. Add to that certain documented strike anomalies and transitional characteristics that experts still debate today, and you have the perfect storm. This is where fear creeps in, because once you hear this, you can't unknow it. How many people spent these coins? How many are gone forever? Think about it. A single point of contact, a single scratch, A single careless moment, that's all it takes to erase hundreds of thousands of dollars in potential value. And yet, a few survived. Pristine, silent, waiting. Now here's where the story turns from curiosity to urgency. The coin market doesn't reward patience the way people think it does. It rewards awareness. When a coin like this is identified, graded, and verified, the window doesn't stay open forever. Collectors move fast, institutions move faster, and once a record price is set, the rest of the market adjusts. Suddenly, what was dismissed as hype becomes precedent. That's when fear kicks in for those who waited too long. But let's pause for a second. Be honest with yourself. When was the last time you really looked at a dime? Not glanced. Looked. You've probably spent more time choosing a streaming show than examining the change in your pocket. Funny, isn't it, how entertainment feels urgent, but opportunity feels optional. A broken bar until it isn't. The 2018 dime sits at a crossroads in modern American coinage. It's recent enough to be accessible, yet old enough to have passed through millions of hands unnoticed. It exists in a digital age where cash is fading, which only increases the scarcity of high-grade survivors. Fewer people use coins, fewer people care, and that indifference is exactly what drives value higher for those who do. Collectors in their 40s, 50s, and 60s understand this instinctively. They've seen it before. Baseball cards, classic cars, vintage watches, assets everyone ignored. A broken bar until suddenly everyone wanted one, and by then, the price had already run away. The dime follows the same psychology. Small entry point, massive upside, brutal regret for those who miss it. There's also a psychological trigger at play here that most people underestimate. The idea that something so small could be worth so much challenges our sense of fairness. It feels wrong, and because it feels wrong, people dismiss it. That dismissal is the real enemy, because markets don't care about disbelief, they care about supply and demand. Somewhere, someone already learned this lesson the hard way. Someone rolled coins at a bank, never knowing what slipped through their fingers. Someone cleaned a coin, destroying its surface and its future. Someone laughed when they heard a dime could be worth millions. And someone else quietly sent theirs to a grading service, a broken bar, and changed their life. Now let me ask you a question that might make you uncomfortable. If you had the chance to spend 10 minutes checking your coins for a possibility, not a guarantee, a possibility of generational wealth, a broken bar, would you do it? Or would you scroll past this and hope someone else takes the risk? Because this isn't just about a dime, it's about mindset. Wealth has always favored the curious, the patient, and the slightly obsessive, the people willing to look twice when everyone else looks away. The people who understand that the biggest opportunities rarely announce themselves as opportunities. As the story of the 2018 dime continues to unfold, the tension only increases. Each year, fewer pristine examples exist. Each year, more are lost to circulation damage. Each year, demand quietly grows as more collectors wake up to the reality that modern coins can be just as powerful as ancient ones. And when the next headline hits, when another verified sale stuns the market, the question won't be whether it was real. The question will be why you didn't look sooner. Picture the moment: a coin on a felt tray, a number on a screen, silence in a room as bids climb higher than anyone expected. That moment doesn't belong to fantasy, it belongs to preparation. And preparation starts with awareness. The final twist in this story is simple, and that's what makes it so dangerous. The 2018 dime doesn't look special, it doesn't shine louder, it doesn't announce itself. It waits for someone who understands that history is still being made, even now, even in your pocket. So the next time you hear the soft clink of change, don't rush, don't dismiss it, because one dime, struck in 2018, carrying a small P and a massive secret, may already be closer to you than you think. And once you realize that a broken bar, you'll never look at loose change the same way again.